like, you throw the first stone. If you're not also a sinner, then you go right ahead. He is so compassionate to her plight. She's ostracized from her community. She's left out, shunned, abandoned. They're ready to stone her. And Jesus practices that empathy and compassion. And it goes on and on. I mean, you just have to keep flipping through and you go, oh, he heals a blind man. That's not chapter 9. Right? So we've gone from chapter 4 to chapter 9, and we've seen 5 or 6 instances of how Jesus showed empathy and compassion. Now, we may not be able to heal the blind man, but we can pray for healing. We can stand up for the woman who's being shunned and ostracized in her community. We can show her grace and love. We can be the one who doesn't think of her as her situation, but thinks of her as a God-given, beautiful child. We can offer forgiveness where people don't deserve it. We can pull up a chair next to someone who thinks they have it all going on. And we can just pray and trust God to do the rest. There's so many ways that we can imitate Christ. So many ways. But we think, oh, that's scary. I can't imitate Christ. No, we can. We can, and we ought to. Because the compassion is the most important part of that. So chosen, I love Colossians, chosen by God for this new life of love, dress in the wardrobe picked out for you by God. What is the wardrobe? Compassion, first and foremost. Kindness, humility, quiet, strength, discipline. Sometimes it will require discipline to follow through on loving your neighbor in their time of trial. Because you will be busy, and you have your own life, and you have your own drama, and so you might have to be disciplined. And remember, I'm supposed to put on kindness, compassion, strength, discipline. My job, my calling from God is to imitate him, to love my neighbor, to come alongside people in their plight. I would say that the person who shows up will always stand out. I got the sweetest compliment from a friend today, and she said, if something happens to me, you're the first person I want to show up. It means a lot to me. Because it means that I'm living out what God's asking. That I'm willing to put myself in the hard, dark, yucky, uncomfortable, not convenient places. And I don't say that to build myself up. I say that to show you that God can do anything through anyone. He really can. I was a broken girl with a broken family who lived a very broken life until Christ found me. I didn't want to pray out loud. I went to church because it was convenient for so many years, till I was 31 years old, when Christ got a hold of me and said, guess what? I'm calling you, we're using you. No, really, me? I stink. Look at all that I've done. No, he's like, with me, you can do it. So if you're worried that you can't do all these things, you can't show up in the heartbroken, you can with God's strength. We don't go alone. So the person who shows up stands out. I remember as that young little girl living in a small 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom house with 9 of us, and our mom going back to work. My parents were officially divorced when I was 5. I told you my dad lived till he was 80, but he always struggled with alcohol. He was in and out of treatment more times than I can count. I tried to have a relationship with him. I had a lot of grace for him. I loved him very, very, very much, and I saw him whenever possible, till the day he died. But my family lived very, very poorly. We were very poor, and my mom worked 70 or 80 hours a week, and I spent a lot of time home alone. And I'll never forget his face. His name was Tori, and he would come from church every single Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter, and knock on the door, and I was almost always home alone. And he would be holding a box. And usually it wasn't like a beautiful box. It was like one of those kind of burlap covered boxes that they try to make look fancy. And it would be filled with canned goods and dry goods for my family, so that we would be able to have a holiday meal. He would also always bring a turkey or a ham or something. So me and Tori would walk through the house and down the stairs to the ginormous double wide dark brown, anyone remember those? 1970s? And open it up, and Tori would place the turkey inside the fridge or the ham. And I would say thank you, and he always had literally just like the most jovial, beautiful smile on his face. And he just made me feel so loved. And he would just, every single time he showed up at the door, I'm like, Tori's here, without fail, bringing the food for our family. He literally imitated Christ by showing up and feeding our family, by showing up and loving a 7-year-old girl with just being kind and chatting with me and always smiling. Literally, just, I can see his face perfectly. And I literally feel like it's like the face of Jesus. That is what loving your neighbor looks like. That is what imitating Christ looks like. To keep an imprint on, I am 49 years old, and I still remember his face. So nothing you do goes unnoticed when you step out in faith and love your neighbor.